Good Tuesday evening, folks. I'm Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandages here on November the 5th, 2024, talking about Tropical Storm Rafael that is on the cusp of becoming a hurricane right now with winds of 70 miles per hour, right on the threshold of becoming a Category 1 storm. Now, there is a window potentially opening on up where this storm could rapidly intensify up until it makes landfall in the western portion of Cuba. Everything's lining up. We've got the warm ocean temperatures. We've got a moist mid-levels of the atmosphere, low wind shear. And just the climatology in general favors this part of the ocean to bring around some rapid intensification potentially. So we'll watch for that really over the next 24 hours. And it is now forecast to make a U.S. landfall, not as a hurricane, thankfully, but as a weakening tropical storm as we get into the later parts of this weekend. I'll share with you that brand new cone issued by the National Hurricane Center. All right, here's a look at the latest satellite imagery of Tropical Storm Rafael. 70-mile-per-hour winds, again, right on the cusp of becoming a Category 1 storm. Gusts over hurricane force, and it has picked up forward speed to the northwest at 15 miles per hour. Look at it on visible satellite imagery here. You can see it's definitely getting that shape. It's organizing and strengthening as we go forward in time, and plenty of moisture surrounding it. We've got some dry air looking to the north and west and well off to the north and east, but nothing getting pulled into the system and trained into the circulation to really weaken it in the short term. We've got plenty of warm water. You see it move through sea surface temperature readings of around 90 degrees. It doesn't get much cooler south of Cuba. We're looking at upper 80s here, so plenty of ocean fuel, ocean heat content also in this part of the ocean. In the Caribbean generally is very high. That's warm water down to a depth, meaning there's just an endless supply of heat energy for these systems to use to intensify and strengthen. Here's the brand new cone as of 4 o'clock from the National Hurricane Center to strengthen it to a high-end Category 1 storm as it makes landfall over western Cuba tomorrow afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, 90-mile-per-hour winds. Now moves into the Gulf of Mexico, maintains Category 1 status, but then as it builds into a higher wind shear environment, some drier air getting pulled into the circulation, it should put it on a weakening trend as it builds to the northwest and then eventually turns to the north, potentially making a landfall somewhere along the Louisiana coastline later on this weekend. Notice at that point in time, forecast right now is for it to weaken down to a 45-mile-per-hour tropical storm. There will still be impacts, and notice that the forecast cone here gets very, very wide at this point in time because look at the divergence in the computer models here. Now, this is the spaghetti plots, and just look at the wide range. They are really right in line going up right up through Cuba, and then they diverge significantly with a large range of outcomes potentially here as we get into this upcoming weekend in terms of a landfall location, or it could take a turn to the west and stay out over the Gulf of Mexico and maybe even head towards the southern portions of Texas. That's still in the cards. So here's how our two long-range global models look. GFS, the American, and the European. GFS in yellow, European is in red. Both are in line here, making landfall in western Cuba, likely just west of Havana, Cuba. Into the Gulf of Mexico, still a strong storm. And then they both start to show the divergence occurring here as we get into the weekend. The GFS weaker starts to build its way to the north and eventually dissipate. And then it looks like now even the European does eventually take that turn to the north, just as a little bit later, so has a more westward trajectory for a little while longer. Out in the tropical Atlantic, we still have one other area that we're watching, and as of the recording of this video compared with yesterday, it is higher. 30% chance now developing. Yesterday when we talked, it was at a 20% chance. So some models do show this trying to develop here as well over the Bahamas as we get into the later parts of this week and this weekend. So we'll see. The next name on the list there would be Sarah after we get past Rafael, and that would be the 18th named storm of the season if we do get to that point in time. All right, you can find me on social media if you have any questions. In fact, that would be the 19th named storm. I got to correct myself there. Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. We'll see you again tomorrow.